welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to share this class tonight. I just thought I'd break down a little bit about the paths of yoga. And so the practice that we normally come to throughout this series is Hatha. And what does Hatha really mean? So I thought I would just explain a little bit about the paths of yoga, where yoga originated from, and a little bit about why we move our bodies in this way. So the four main paths of yoga are karma, which is the yoga of action. This helps to purify the heart through selfless acts without any award or gain from it, right? So this actually helps to sublimate the ego, right? So it's a yoga of giving for others, right? In the selfless way. Bhakti, which I started to embody probably about 4 years ago, is the embodiment of love through chanting, through prayer, through ritual, through worship. And this is really the yoga of devotion, right? So coming to these chants or prayers in this ritualistic way. Really beautiful practice, by the way. Raja Yoga, this is where the roots of Hatha Yoga actually originated from. And it's primarily about meditation. So pratyahara, this inward reflection, and also this Ishvara pranadhana, right? This connection to the larger aspects of all of life, right? So this is done through sacred movement, through practices such as yamas, niyamas, the mudras, the bandhas, all of that. And this helps to control the senses, the mind, the body, and then also the energy inside the body as well, and also moving outside of the body. And then the fourth main paths, and there are some other practices of yoga, but the four main are karma, bhakti, raja, and jnana, right? So this is the yoga of wisdom or knowledge, and this follows the philosophy of the original seers, the sacred scriptures of the Upanishads, and these are ancient texts known as the Vedas, right? So this was composed about between 1625 and 1695 AD. And there are 84 asanas or 84 postures to Hatha Yoga. And this is called the Hatharatnavali. I got that right. Hatharatnavali. And this was given to us, this gift was given to us by Sri Vanasa, right? So this is where the asanas are originated from. So we're not going to practice 84 of them tonight. We're going to do about 20 or so. So let's find into these original postures of Hatha Yoga. And it is said that in Hatha Yoga, we're also embodying not just the body in the postures, for fitness or health or well-being or even the movement of the energies, but there is something sacred about this geometry, about the way that we're moving, and that certain things start to happen and connect us to all that is life. So arrive here into mountain stance. Feet about hip width apart. Sometimes it might feel a little bit more comfortable if the feet are a little bit wider. Sometimes it might feel a little bit more comfortable if the feet are closer together. The usual stance is about lining up where the center of the foot comes up and meets right directly where the knees are, where the hips are, and then the shoulders line up. But our bodies are all unique and different, and I really want to share the importance of finding comfort, right? Since we should have some steadiness and some ease through every posture. So find into where you can start to feel down to the roots of your feet. And make a small adjustment here through your awareness and movement where you can start to feel the whole surface of the feet. Typically when we stand, we might stand with our arches a little bit high or maybe low. We might stand a little bit to the outer edges or the inner edges of our feet, the fronts or back. But notice where you can start to plant all 10 toes down, feeling through the balls of the feet and the whole surface of both feet rooted down to your mat. This is where we start to build and feel everything start to rise. So this is where this Udana energy starts to surface, and this is with this upward moving energy of prana. So take 2 more breaths here, just finding into your mountain stance, maybe even closing eyes, welcoming breath. And maybe even guiding yourself through this mental awareness, through the senses here, sensing from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head, like a little body scan. Maybe even tapping into this upward flow of energy if you can. Or maybe just sensing the physical senses of the body or the mind. One more breath here. Now, let's invite some gentle movement and inhale, opening eyes, sweeping arms towards the sky or ceiling, allowing palms to touch. Now, find where you can start to make a little adjustment here. Maybe this is not the right sweater to demonstrate this, but there is a small movement through the pelvis to find that little bit of a dropping down of the tailbone, almost like a lifting up through the front. So find this length, noticing where you can start to, again, feel the weight of the body down and supported through the earth, but also a little bit of a rising from this hip shelf up. So reaching up, full length of body, maybe even the shoulders come up towards the ears. And then let's invite a little bit of a back bend, allowing the hips to roll forward. Take one more breath here, finding into a stretch. Now, if this is really straining on your low back, bring it up about 10%. Find into your own stretch. One more breath here. Beautiful. And then come back tall in the center, that little tucking through the tailbone, drawing up through the navel. And then let's add a little touch of softness to the knees as we allow the upper body to fold forward. So find as much length forward as you are moving down. And start to notice where there is a little bit of a dropping or connecting through the belly, the thighs, and there's a little bit of length through this tailbone. Finding the whole length through the spine. The head should be loose. The hands may come to the floor, and maybe they come to the tops of the feet, or fronts of the legs, maybe they come to the knees, or even to the thighs. The goal here is not to actually allow everything to come into this straight, like the backs of the legs don't have to be perfectly straight. But the back should fold over, and the upper body should be loose and comfortable. So feel into this breath, 2 more breaths. And then press through the feet and slowly rise yourself back up into your mountain stance. Take 2 more breaths here. Let's try that again. Inhale, sweeping arms up, coming up to the top, a little tuck of the tailbone, a little floating back to your own comfort level. Exhale, folding forward. Let's bend the knees this time really deeply, placing hands on the floor and walking the feet back. Coming into a downward facing dog. So start to notice where this chest, right, the front of the chest can start to reach back, as though the front of the chest wants to go in between the legs. And then starting to notice where the legs or the heels can become heavy. So for some people, it might feel a little bit more comfortable if their feet come in a little bit closer. Some people might feel a little bit more comfort here if the feet go back. And then there's also the option to take the feet a little wider as well. So take 1, 2 more rounds of breath here in this posture of downward facing dog. Let's allow the heart to roll forward. We come into a plank, but we're not going to stay there. Let's invite the knees to come to the floor, the tops of the feet to arrive here. We arrive here into tabletop. Let's add a little cat and cow stretch. So soft kitty, sending the spine up towards the ceiling. There's almost a sense of as though the wrists and the knees are moving away from each other, although that they aren't, but there's a little bit of action there, and there's a little bit of activity there. And then finding again where the belly can drop down, the head can go up, and it's almost like the knees and the wrists want to move closer together. Even though there's no movement, but there's almost like this energetic pull. So feel into this little bit of a movement here through the spine, and then feeling into that action between the wrists and the knees. And one more round here, feeling into every single micro movement that you can feel within this moment, experience within this moment. And then right here, back into your tabletop. Let's slide both legs back and then slowly lower the body, upper body down into the middle. The tops of the feet make their way to the floor. The hands are on the floor here, underneath the shoulders. This is where we keep the elbows into the sides and the shoulder blades roll back. And there's almost like a peeling up of the chest. So take a little micro movement here, come back down, and then start to allow those elbows to move in, peeling the upper body up. One more time, coming back down. Squeezing elbows in, pressing down through the hands. Allow that chest to roll up. Excellent job, guys. Make a little adjustment here, pressing through palms, straightening arms, sliding back. Allow the buttocks to come down towards the heel as best as you can. So there's a little bit of a dropping of the tailbone here. And the hips should become almost heavy. So if we were in a class together and there would be a little bit of an adjustment, there would be a little bit, a teacher would come by and maybe offer a little bit more space to be here through this low back so that the tailbone can drop and that the upper part of the body, upper part of the spine can open. So take 2 more breaths here with this gentle awareness into your child's pose. You can even add a touch of softness to the arms if you want to, or if you'd like to invite a little bit more stretch through the shoulders, come up into those little cupcake fingers, where you create a little space underneath the palms so that you don't want to squish your cupcake underneath them. And find that little bit of action here. Maybe drawing the shoulders back as you press down through the fingers. Take 1 more breath. And if you lifted your palms, allow them to come back down to the floor. Fingers, tips gripping. So there should be a little bit of lightness or space in the palms. So the palms are coming up so that when we do these postures that we're not placing all of the weight onto the wrists, that the hands are enough that they can take the support there. So finding into those palms, finding into those fingertips, lifting up through palms, allow the hips to come up. And walk those hands as far forward as you can reach. Again, gripping down through fingertips, palms slightly rising, and then allow the heart to float down into the center, the head come down to the floor if you can. If not, find a pillow, place the pillow underneath the head. Awareness of the hips are lifting up here. Find into your breath as you can, or maybe even into the awareness of the space of the third eye. This posture here really certainly comes into this energy center as you connect down. So take 2 more breaths here. Wonderful. Let's walk those hands back to come underneath the shoulders. And then gently guide yourself back up. Let's allow hips to come up. And we'll come into a camel modification, allowing the heels to be lifted, plugging the toes. Lifting up. Let's take our hands behind us. Let's sweep them out to the sides. And then placing them here, just on that hip shelf. So the pads of the palms resting right here where you can start to feel that hip bone. I have dimples there, so it's really easy for me to identify if you have dimples. That's where the base of the palm should be. So find into that length, just as we did when we were standing, dropping the tailbone, a little awareness of the navel here. And then start to press the elbows together, the shoulders together, and lean back. Just a little bit, enough to get this stretch through the front of the body and also through the spine. Take one more breath here. Exhaling it out. And then come back tall into the center. Let's take our hands to the floor and then find our right foot. Allow the right foot to come in between the hands. So moving into this posture in any way that you can. Knee can be still lined up underneath the hip or gently guided back a little bit more if your hips are not very overly tight. So take a breath here. Exhaling it out. Wonderful. Let's guide ourselves nice and slowly, gently, all the way up, allowing hands now to reach up. Find length and find where you can start to be straight again. So there might be a little bit of drawing back through the right hip, a little engagement through the belly, a little dropping through the tailbone. Find yourself tall here. Feel that right foot and press the whole sole of that foot down into the mat and add a little bit of action or activity to the legs. Maybe squeezing a little bit through the muscles. Take one more breath here. Exhale it out. Wonderful. Let's take the hands to the floor. And let's do a little bit of a modified version here. I'm going to turn just slightly so everybody can start to see. We'll invite the left hand to come to the floor and the hand on the right knee, and then we'll roll out to the outer edge of the right foot. So a little bit of a twist here. Take a breath. Exhaling it out. Wonderful. One more breath here. Wonderful. And let's see if we can all manage this together. Maybe drawing that left knee up and then sliding yourself down. Coming into a seated position or finding a seated position any way that you can feel comfortable. Find that left heel and bring it close to the body, but you're not sitting on top of it. And the right foot comes around the front of the left knee and then comes to the floor. So you can start to feel where this right hip lifts up. And noticing if you can make a small adjustment where you can drop it down. Maybe connecting both of the sits bones to the floor as best as you can. Take a breath here, arriving into this new posture, this new shape. Start to feel this connection, this flow of energy. One more breath. Excellent job, guys. Let's extend both legs straight. Give yourself a little wiggle. And then both legs arriving here. Take a breath. Wonderful. Let's try it on the other side. So let's find that right heel now. That right heel comes underneath and then reaching back towards the left buttock, left hip. But it does not sit underneath, right? And then the sole of the left foot makes a connection to the floor as best as you can. These are not regular shapes that we make throughout our day, but they're very important, that there is something sacred about this geometry, that the way that the movement of the energy inside the body flows in such a way that really, really helps to build this awareness of connection. So notice what this feels or means like for you. Notice what you were able to connect to in this breath into this moment. One more breath here. And maybe what we can do is there's space today, maybe we can roll over to one side, twisting ourselves around, and then allowing that right knee to come to the floor. The left hand makes its way into the center and both hands come to the floor again. Take a breath here when you arrive. Opportunity to stay here or maybe guiding the hands to the knee. And then in welcoming yourself into this posture, adding a little action to the legs, maybe finding into that tailbone, dropping down, a little engagement here of the belly. Maybe hands can float up, shoulders, move away from the ear and add a little touch of softness to the elbows here. Notice how that drops the shoulders down. Take 2 breaths here. Beautiful job, guys. Let's take our right hand to the floor, the left hand to the knee, and allow that left knee to roll out to the side, coming to the outer edge of your left foot. Breath is full, slow, deep. Wonderful. Let's come back to the sole of the foot. Let's extend ourselves back into a plank, but don't worry, we're not going to stay here. Let's allow our knees to come to the floor and then guide ourselves back down into a child's pose. 2 rounds of breath. And then guiding yourself back into table. We'll walk both knees over to one side of our mat, sitting down through the other, and allowing yourselves now to roll onto the back body. When you arrive here, make some adjustments. Allow the shoulders to move away from the ears, the shoulder blades making contact with the floor. Find into that space. There should be a little space between the low back and your mat. And then gently feel into the feet, maybe even adding a little tiny bit of pressure, pressing down through the feet. Take 1 breath here. And then feel light as a feather as the feet lift off, knees come into the chest, and the hands come around the fronts of the legs or behind the legs. Maybe there is some rocking in this posture that your body needs in this moment. So feel into what might feel better for you, staying still in the center, maybe rocking a little side to side. Allow both knees to fold over to one side, extending the opposite arm. Maybe gaze follows over into that outstretched arm, or maybe it comes up towards the ceiling, or maybe even take it to the same side as the knees. Find into what feels right for your neck today. Allow the breath to move in and out through the side of the rib cage. Now engage the navel a little bit. And even Mula Bandha, which is in the perineum, there's a gentle squeezing or awareness or holding of the perineum or the muscles around that area. Mula Bandha, tightening up through the base and then coming up through center and then floating over to the other side. Extending the arm out on this side now. Finding into the stretch and the breath through the side of the rib cage. Stretching all the way from wrist to ankle. Breathe into this body, into this moment. And then coming back into center, find the soles of the feet together, the knees to come out, and allow the feet to slowly move their way down to your mat. Maybe arms make an adjustment here to feel into your comfort. Notice where you can take 5 rounds of breath here. Watch and feel as the belly lifts and falls. When you finish your rounds of breath, slowly extending both legs down to the corners of your mat. Space between the feet rolling out to the outer edges. Space between the arms and the upper body, palms facing up. For some, it might feel more comfortable for palms to face in, or maybe even palms facing down. So find into what feels right for you. Take 2 breaths here when you arrive. Let's close out this practice by placing a hand on top of the chest, a hand on top of the belly, and welcoming in the chant of Om. Breathing in. Feel to what happens in the silence. What happens in this sacred shape. And what connection feels like for you. You can stay here as long as you wish, as long as you need. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for practicing with me again today. A little note about Zoom. The platform is incredibly expensive, and we seem to be under 40 minutes most days anyway. So I've decided not to go for the Zoom premium package again this year. And so our Zoom time will be limited to a strict 40 minutes. So I normally start the Zoom about 20 minutes or 20 minutes after or about 10 minutes before class. However, I won't be able to do that and be able to maintain our time frame. So I'll be starting the Zoom 5 minutes before class, and that should give us 5 minutes after class. And hopefully that should provide us enough time. If not, then we'll make some adjustments and we'll go back to the premium package. But there may be times where, if you're joining us on the live call, that we might be abruptly ended. For that, I apologize. So we'll try to keep our best to be approximately 35 minutes or so. Oh, I think I've got a warning already. I think my premium package is over. Thank you guys. Namaste. Bye.